How are you, sir?
We just met in Vegas.
I met you before. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Sure. You put on that kind of cool hat to throw me off, huh?
I saw you with a cool hat last time, so I had it.
All right. Well, wait a minute. Since you all are videotaping, let me put my jacket on. Oh, please, you know. You never know. So who all do I have here?
Town Hall Magazine, Scott Berkey from Washington, D.C. Nice to meet you. Thank you for everything you do for us.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Rob Gorham, Buzz Card. We work with Al Reynolds, runs for Illinois Senate.
Got it. Got it.
Paul Mitchell, I'm a local blogger.
Okay.
Charles Jackson from Patriots Heart Network. You've been on our station before.
Very good. Yes, I have.
Nancy Garner, the local blogger.
Steve Foley, Liberty.com.
Liberty.com.
Warner Todd Houston, and I work with Andrew Piper.
Warner with the cool hat. I tell you, man, you're too much. All right.
I gotta get
Fire away, folks. You're speechless.
Here's a hard one. Are you going to run for president?
I am in prayerful consideration. And what that means is because I'm a man of faith, I don't make a big life-changing decision like that without a lot of prayer. And then there are several considerations that I'm looking at. First consideration is what happens in November. And I am encouraged by the prospects. Because what that will say to me is that the electorate and these new people that are getting involved are really serious about changing the leadership of this country. Because one of the questions that I get asked by people inside the Beltway, well, you've never held public office. Well, the people outside the Beltway, they don't care. They're looking for a problem solver, and they're looking for somebody who knows something about leadership. Then the second consideration is being able to build a national grassroots organization, which very quietly we are doing. I call it the stealth model. Stay below the radar. And then thirdly, being able to raise the finances. And that also is going well. So, you know, sometimes in 2011, we'll make a final decision about, you know, moving forward.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
How do you see about this economy? What would you do to bring us back to being America instead of this downhill trend we've had?
First of all, I believe in American exceptionalism. We have the greatest country in the world. This is how the American people feel. The first thing I would do, and it may be too late by the time I get an opportunity to have an impact, the first thing that ought to be a no-brainer, low-hanging fruit, make the current tax rates permanent. I get tired of hearing them called the Bush tax cuts. They were not Bush tax cuts. They were the people's tax cuts. They're for the people. And they keep talking about it as if it was something, yeah, they made it temporary with that sunset clause. So the first thing you do is that you make the tax cuts permanent. Secondly, and this is low-hanging fruit, you suspend repatriated profits. There are a lot of international companies that have profits and operations overseas that are stuck there because if they come back, they get double taxed. So what do? They leave those operations overseas. The third thing that I would do is to take the capital gains tax rate to zero. That will give the people who create jobs an incentive to create jobs. The current administration and this Congress, they don't get it. And if you look at all three of those things, and you look at the uncertainties of the health care bill, and you look at the uncertainties of the financial reform legislation, you notice I say financial reform, because if it was true reform, it would make things better. No, this isn't going to make anything better. All of those things and more create this air of uncertainty that causes the U.S. economy to be in a state of stop. They're never going to get any jobs by spending more money. The only way we're going to get more jobs to jumpstart this economy is to provide direct stimulus to the private sector and remove this air of uncertainty. And unfortunately, the current administration and the current Congress have no clue that those are the things that they really need to do. So unfortunately, this economy is going to be in this stalled state for quite some time. Yes, sir.
Mr. Cain, a month or so ago, the governor of Indiana called on conservatives to declare a truce on social issues. Do you agree with that idea?
I don't know what he means by calling a truce on social issues, because social issues are important. maybe I would say social issues may not need to be the leading issues, because if we don't take care of national security first, stimulate the economy second, social issues won't be the most important thing that we need to worry about. I think they're important, but I think they should be put in proper perspective. Some people are single issue folks, and that's unfortunate. Maybe that's what he was referring to. But I tell people that if you are a single issue voter, then you are basically discounting your vote. We don't have just one problem. We have a multiplicity of problems. And what I tell my listeners, quite frankly, is if you can agree with a candidate on 7 out of 10 issues that are important, first decide what those 10 important issues are. If you're going to agree with a candidate on 7 out of 10 issues, that's called a home run. Because if you are looking for the perfect candidate, well, he doesn't exist. She doesn't exist. So I think that they're important, but I do not agree that they should be the litmus test.
How encouraged are you by Christine O'Donnell's win?
Woo-hoo! Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Look, all my life, I have been the underdog. And let me give y'all, never tell me that I can't do something. And they told that young lady that she couldn't do it. I had the opportunity to meet her last night, as a matter of fact, at the Value Voters Conference in D.C., where I spoke, she spoke, Sean Hannity spoke. And I am thrilled that she won, because, and I'm thrilled of who she beat.
Yes.
The voters finally said, you wear the R label, you claim to be a conservative, but you don't act like a conservative. And the people are waking up. My latest book is called They Think You're Stupid. Well, people aren't as stupid as some of these people believe. You saw it in Alaska. You saw it in Delaware. You're going to see it all over this country come November. So I am excited about her win. And here's another thing. When the the Republican National Senatorial Committee. I get some of these acronyms mixed up, so forgive me for that, okay? When they came out and said that she shouldn't have won, they weren't going to support her. I was on the radio at the time, on my radio show, and I was incensed. I was absolutely disgusted. And you know what? That's why the Republican Party keeps losing. They keep losing because they don't understand what's going on out here. They don't understand what's going on here at this conference. You got 5,000 excited people that are sick of politicians as usual. They're sick of business as usual, and they're sick of the rhetoric as usual. And for those that are waking up, I got to tell you, who understand it, they'll be able to tap into it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Kay, how do we get the youth vote back in on the right side of the equation? I mean, it's been slipping for years, and
Yes.
what do you think we can do to get the young people back voting our side?
Information, information, information. There's nothing more powerful than the right information. When President Obama was running for office, too many of the young people were so disgusted with politics as usual that they bought an empty package called Hope and Change. I get calls from young people on my radio show all the time who's saying, you know, I regret making that vote because this wasn't the change and the hope that they were looking for. So I think we are already getting it back. Now what that means though is that conservatives have got to have a message. They have got to have some specifics. You can no longer attract people with the same old watered down rhetoric. And that's the problem with a lot of the candidates that are running. He asked me what would I do about the economy. I gave you some specifics. Asked me about national security. I'm going to give you some specifics. That's what people want to hear. Not the watered down rhetoric in terms of, you know, blah, 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 blah. Young people don't want to hear that. And the other thing is, they are the ones that are going to suffer the most if we don't fix Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. If we don't fix those big problems that are looming because they eat up so much of our national spending. So we've got to tell them specifically how we're going to do that. Representative Paul Ryan of Wisconsin has put his American roadmap out there, and I love it because one of the things in there is how do we get Social Security to become solvent. What a novel idea! Most politicians can't say Social Security and solve it in the same breath. But he has put together some ideas, the same approach that George Bush proposed when he was president, but the Republicans and the conservatives sat on the bench, let him go out on the limb, and the